After a win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, LA Clippers star Kawhi Leonard reacted to Paul George's first triple-double. In this video, we will see what he had to say. Then we will explore why Leonard missed the entire 2021-22 season due to a knee injury, the Los Angeles Clippers forward, who had a partly torn ACL sustained in June 2021, has to come out to give an honest answer as regards to his health. Watch this video completely for full details. First up, Kawhi Leonard's superstar skills are returning for the LA Clippers. In addition to having his most significant performance since tearing his ACL roughly 550 days ago, Leonard looked his physically fittest during the game versus Boston. Although the burst is still gradually returning, his lateral movements and defensive vigor are exactly like the 2021 Kawhi who put the Western Conference on notice. The enhanced emphasis on defense, which he has brought with him after leaving the court, may be the aspect of his return that inspires the most hope for his team's offensive performance. He moved with confidence and refused to allow Boston to control the game's flow while he was everywhere on the defensive end against two elite wings, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. In typical Kawhi fashion, he crashed the defensive glass to end possessions for his team and create transition opportunities. He is presently holding his highest defensive rebounding rate since 2014 through 15. Since making a comeback this year, Leonard's offensive usage has dropped to only 23.6%, which is a full 5 percentage points less than in 2021 and almost 10 points less than in his first Clippers season. His strategy for this rehabilitation is, in some ways, the coaching staff's ideal. It's a long-term altruistic perspective that allows him to gradually reintegrate into Ty Lue's system without hijacking possessions and attempting to make a statement. Leonard has addressed the myth surrounding ACL injuries numerous times this season, explaining how it takes 2 years to fully recover and should not be pushed. The Clippers aren't quite exposing all of their cards just yet, hiding behind an incredibly careful medical staff, which Leonard does respect despite wanting to play more minutes. Lue hasn't been able to successfully stagger Leonard and George such that one is constantly in charge of the attack because of the minutes limitations. Against Boston, they finally put it to the test, always leaving one star on the ground. It resulted in the squad outscoring Boston in each of the quarters, realizing their slogan of 2022 through 23, and earning their biggest victory of the year. Leonard stood out against Boston's defense because he deliberately sought out his own scoring opportunities as they played him straight up and refrained from putting more guys in his path. It was a little different from what we'd seen up to that point because opponents opted to turn him into a passer and eliminate some of his go-to moves from the earlier games. The majority of teams have chosen to send help and encroach on Leonard's space out of concern for his strength and size advantages with the ball in his hands. No matter how close to returning he was, a second body would be there to block his post-ups, he'd get his fair share of traps while running pick and rolls, and defenders would frequently assist from the strong side corner to trouble him. Leonard is now, however, considerably more systematic and persistent than before. It's difficult to picture such serenity, but that's how it feels whenever Leonard analyzes the news. Now that he is unconcerned, he is able to make the correct pass in the face of double teams, and fully appreciates the gravity he creates as he storms downhill and threatens the paint. Against Boston, Kawhi was finally seen performing the majority of his work against switches. Even while coaches usually prefer to avoid a strong dosage of isolation play, it was critical to assess how he looked in such positions because it is still a crucial part of playoff basketball. Despite the obvious limitations that defensive leaders Robert Williams and Al Horford were inactive, one might argue that the Clippers' game against Boston may be seen as a preview of the finals. Though it was one of the few times we got to witness the all-star wing duos go head-to-head, Leonard and George outperformed Tatum and Brown throughout the whole game. Up next, Leonard's statistics. After that performance, it's difficult to not be upbeat about Leonard's potential All-NBA status. Whether it comes in a few weeks or months, in his 29 minutes of play, he had a season-high 25 points on 85.4% true shooting, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. His ability to make three-pointers has been his most rusty offensive skill. Many plays have ended with him settling for contested pull-up threes as he gradually gains confidence in his need to blow by defenders. The fact that he was shooting 17.2% from beyond the arc going into the Boston game made sense. We should start to see him take advantage of that space and convert more of those off-the-dribble threes as he gains more vigor and defenders back off to stop him from driving, especially in semi-transition. Leonard has only averaged 17 points per 75 possessions in his first 8 games before the game against Boston. In terms of assertiveness, he rarely forced his own scoring chances, going several possessions without trying to post up and letting other players exploit the defense while acting as a spacer. The victory over Boston was just one more indicator that he is returning to the form everyone anticipated in the winter. Clippers will prove they belong in the top tier of Western contenders once the game repetitions keep piling up and the minutes limit eventually disappears. They have 230 minutes of data with their franchise cornerstone thus far, and it looks like everything is going well. In comparison to the league average, which is approximately 112.1 points per 100 possessions, the Clippers are scoring 114 points per 100 possessions, and allowing just 101.1 points while Leonard is on the court. Leonard's plus 13 net rating for LA is the highest in the NBA among players who average at least 25 minutes per game with a usage rate of 20% or higher. That is one of 98 total players. In those minutes, the Clippers' defensive rating of 101.1 was an absurd 11 point higher than the league average. No player in the aforementioned sample had a lower defensive rating than Leonard. Despite the fact that these are not individual metrics and defense calls for a collective team effort, included in that is Jaren Jackson Jr., who has a good chance to win Defensive Player of the Year and appears to be the league's best paint defender at the moment. According to Cleaning the Glass, when Leonard is on the court, LA's opponents shoot 6.6 percentage points worse than when he is not, measured by effective field goal percentage. In terms of EFG percentage difference, he ranks in the 98th percentile among all forwards. Despite all of the commotion and criticism surrounding the team, the Clippers have maintained their long-term view. The Clippers are now only 3.5 games back of first place in the Western Conference rankings, so now would be the ideal moment for them to string together a healthy month. The majority of the playoff seeds are all close together. Leonard's objective is still the same. He chooses patience over quick outcomes, worrying solely about May and June and not expressing concern in December. But creating habits on both sides of the floor will be a crucial step in his and the Clippers' title-winning approach. The game against Boston marked a significant improvement, and the club was relieved to know Leonard can still assume leadership roles when necessary. Up next, Kawhi Leonard gives honest answer on if he feels fully healthy. Kawhi Leonard will tell you he feels well if you ask him how he is. It is clear from Leonard's recent performance numbers that he is still not totally recovered. He is, however, unquestionably gradually resuming his previous shape. Kawhi Leonard put up a productive 31-point performance against the Washington Wizards despite still being subject to a minutes restriction and being able to play back-to-back games. Leonard recorded 31 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals, and 46% shooting against the Washington Wizards. When asked how he felt, Leonard responded that he already felt wonderful. He said even though playing for 24 or 26 minutes at a time is challenging, they were successful against the Washington Wizards due to the absence of Paul George, Reggie Jackson, and Ivica Zubac. The game was simply more assertive and aggressive throughout. Kawhi made no field goals in the game's opening 5 minutes, but went on to make 12 of 21 field goals for the remainder of the contest. Because it allows athletes to average out their shooting, being able to play more minutes truly matters. Although Kawhi Leonard has undoubtedly not yet regained all of his lift, the Boston Celtics and Washington Wizards have seen firsthand what he is still capable of. He merely requires more time. Finally, Kawhi Leonard's hilarious answer about Paul George's first Clippers triple-double. Kawhi Leonard was shocked when Paul George recently achieved his first triple-double while playing for the Los Angeles Clippers. Leonard was not astonished by George's capacity for a triple-double, but he was perplexed as to how he managed to compile 11 assists in a game where the Clippers shot so horribly. In the Clippers' victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves, they only shot 38% from the field, yet George still managed to dish up 11 assists. After the game, Leonard responded to a question about this with a humorous comment on George's triple-double. Leonard remarked he didn't know how he earned 11 assists. He said he questioned him on who he was giving the ball to. They made 38% shots, but George managed to score. Leonard said he made shots when they needed them, grabbed rebounds, played strong defense, and is currently playing excellent basketball. After the victory, Leonard was in a good mood and made jokes about his team's first triple-double while wearing a Clippers jersey in the locker room. The Clippers are beginning to make progress, but health is still a problem problem, the Clippers should be among the short list of title favorites if they can stay healthy, but this season has seen a string of injuries for the squad. The Clippers are still in the fight in the West despite key players coming and going from the roster, and they want to keep improving throughout a lengthy season. But that's all we have on Kawhi Leonard's comments about Paul George's first Clippers triple-double and his answer as regards being fully healthy. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel while you're down there. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.